Picture this. You're walking across campus with a tray of coffee samples for the students, just like you do every Tuesday morning, when you spot your girlfriend of 8 months passionately kissing another guy right outside the library. But here's the twist that nobody saw coming, including her. The coffee samples you're handing out? They're from your own chain of 12 successful coffee shops across Oregon. The humble Honda Civic you drive to campus? It's parked right next to your Porsche and Tesla in a private garage downtown. And that girl who just shattered your heart while calling you her biggest mistake? She's about to learn the most expensive lesson of her life. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The autumn morning started like any other at Riverside University. I was walking through the Commons with my usual Tuesday coffee sample tray, wearing my faded campus coffee corner uniform and that worn-out baseball cap I'd had since freshman year. Students barely glanced my way as I offered free samples of our new seasonal blend. To them, I was just Ryan, the coffee guy who worked early morning shifts to pay for college. Nothing special. Nothing worth noticing. That's exactly how I wanted it. My parents had taught me something valuable when they handed over their business empire on my 18th birthday. "Son," my father had said, "if you want to understand people's true character, let them think you have nothing to offer. The ones who treat you well when you're seemingly worthless are the ones worth keeping around." So here I was, 3 years later, living in a modest apartment off campus, driving a 10-year-old Honda Civic, and watching people show me exactly who they really were. I was approaching the library steps when I saw them. Jessica, my girlfriend, of 8 months, was pressed against the brick wall with her arms wrapped around Tyler Peterson. Their kiss wasn't just a peck between friends. It was passionate, desperate, the kind that said they'd been doing this for a while. Tyler's hands were running through her long brown hair, while Jessica melted into him like he was her salvation. My stomach dropped, but I kept walking. Years of business training from my parents had taught me to never react emotionally in public. Instead, I observed. Tyler was wearing an expensive-looking leather jacket I'd never seen before, and there was a silver BMW M4 parked directly behind them. Jessica was wearing the designer purse I'd bought her for her birthday last month, the one she'd gushed about for weeks after seeing it in some magazine. When they finally broke apart, I was close enough to hear their conversation. Jessica's voice was breathless and excited. "I can't believe you surprised me with lunch at Nouveau Bistro yesterday. Nobody's ever taken me somewhere that fancy before." Tyler grinned and pulled her closer. "Baby, you deserve the world. I told you I'd take care of you, didn't I? No more worrying about money, no more stress about the future. You found your safe place." Jessica giggled and buried her face in his chest. "I know. I just feel so guilty sometimes. Ryan's not a bad person, he's become such a burden. Always worried about bills, always talking about being responsible with money. He doesn't understand that some things are worth spending on. Like us." "Hey," Tyler lifted her chin gently. "You can't feel guilty for wanting better. That guy works at a coffee shop and drives a beat-up Honda. What kind of future can he give you? You're too beautiful, too smart to settle for someone who's going nowhere." My grip tightened on the coffee tray, but I forced myself to keep my expression neutral. A few students had noticed me standing there and were starting to look curious. I needed to handle this properly. "Jessica," I called out, my voice steady, despite the hurricane brewing in my chest. She spun around, her face instantly draining of color. Tyler's arm remained possessively around her waist as she stammered, "Ryan, what are you doing here?" "Handing out samples for the Tuesday promotion," I said calmly, holding up the tray. "Same as every week for the past 3 years. You know, the thing you always said you found cute about my dedication to work." Jessica's cheeks flushed red. She glanced at Tyler, who was studying me with undisguised contempt, then back at me. For a moment, I thought she might try to explain, maybe even apologize. Instead, she lifted her chin defiantly. "Actually, Ryan, I'm glad you're here. I've been meaning to talk to you." She stepped closer to Tyler, making her choice crystal clear. "Tyler and we're together now. I should have told you sooner, but I didn't know how." Tyler smirked and extended his hand in a mock gesture of politeness. "No hard feelings, man. May the best man win, right?" I looked at his outstretched hand but didn't take it. Instead, I focused on Jessica. So this is how you want to handle this? In public? With no explanation? What explanation do you need? Jessica's voice was gaining confidence, probably drawing strength from Tyler's presence. I found someone who can actually provide for me. Someone with ambition and success. Tyler owns his own business, he drives a BMW, he can take me places I've only dreamed of. What do you have to offer? Coffee samples and a broken-down car? The students around us were starting to whisper and pull out their phones. This was about to become campus gossip, and Jessica seemed to realize it. But instead of backing down, she doubled down. Look, Ryan, you're a nice guy, but nice doesn't pay the bills. Tyler is successful, he's going places, and he wants to take me with him. I can't waste my life waiting for you to figure out how to be a man. Tyler's smirk widened. He pulled Jessica closer and kissed her forehead possessively. Sorry, buddy. Sometimes life just works out better for some people than others. Nothing personal. I nodded slowly, processing not just what they were saying, but how they were saying it. The casual cruelty, the public humiliation, the complete lack of respect for 8 months of what I thought was genuine connection. Jessica had often talked about feeling safe with Tyler during our last few conversations, mentioning how he understood her dreams in a way I apparently didn't. Now I was seeing exactly what that meant. I understand, I said finally. You've made your choice. Jessica seemed surprised by my calm reaction. Maybe she'd expected me to beg, to make a scene, to give her the drama she seemed to crave. That's it? You're not going to fight for me? I looked at her for a long moment, really looked at her. The girl I'd thought I knew, the one who'd laughed at my jokes and claimed to admire my work ethic, was gone. In her place stood someone I was only, now seeing clearly. Jessica, you can't fight for someone who doesn't want to be fought for. You found your safe place with Tyler. I hope it's everything you're looking for. Tyler laughed, a sound that grated against my nerves. Classy man. I respect that. Most guys would be crying or throwing punches right now. I'm not most guys, I replied simply. Clearly not, Tyler agreed, his tone dripping with condescension. Don't worry. I'll take good care of her. She deserves someone who can actually afford to treat her right. As they started to walk away, Jessica turned back one more time. Ryan, I need you to return the purse you bought me, and the necklace, and that weekend trip to Portland you paid for. Since we're breaking up, it's only fair. I stared at her. You want me to pay you back for gifts I gave you during our relationship? They weren't gifts if they came with strings. Attached, Jessica said, her voice taking on a sharp edge I'd never heard before. Besides, Tyler can buy me better versions of everything anyway. Right, baby? Tyler nodded enthusiastically. Absolutely. Sky's the limit for my girl. Something about the way he said my girl struck me as odd. But I filed that observation away for later. Right now, I had more pressing concerns. How much are we talking about? I asked. Jessica pulled out her phone and started scrolling. Let's see. The purse was $800. The necklace was $450. The Portland trip was about $600 with the hotel and dinners. Oh, and that concert we went to last month was another $200 for the VIP tickets, so roughly $2,050. The students who had gathered to watch our drama gasped audibly. $2,000 was a fortune to most college kids. Tyler's eyes widened slightly, though he tried to hide his surprise. You kept track of all that? I asked. I'm practical, Jessica said defensively. I always knew this relationship might not work out. I'm not trying to be mean, Ryan, but I can't keep accepting expensive things from someone who's clearly struggling financially. It's not fair to either of us. Tyler nodded sagely, as if he was some relationship expert. She's right, man. Clean break is better for everyone. No messy emotional attachments to material things. I almost laughed at the irony. Here was Jessica, demanding I pay her back for gifts while standing next to a guy whose BMW was probably financed at 30%. Interest, talking about clean breaks and emotional attachments. All right, I said. I'll get you the money. But I have one condition. Jessica perked up, probably expecting me to ask for one last kiss or some other romantic gesture. What's that? I want to know how long this has been going on. I think I deserve that much honesty. Jessica and Tyler exchanged glances. Finally, Jessica shrugged. About 6 weeks. We met at Madison's party, and Tyler he swept me off my feet. He was everything I didn't know I was missing. 6 weeks. We'd had dinner at Romano's for our 8-month anniversary 7 weeks ago. Jessica had told me she loved me that night, had talked about moving in together after graduation. She'd been cheating on me for almost our entire serious phase. 6 weeks, I repeated. And you didn't think I deserved to know? I didn't want to hurt you unnecessarily, Jessica said, though her tone suggested she was already getting impatient with the conversation. I was trying to find the right way to tell you. The right way was in public, in front of half the campus while making out with your new boyfriend? Tyler stepped forward slightly, his posture becoming more aggressive. Look, man, she doesn't owe you anything. She's moving on to better things. Maybe you should do the same instead of making her feel guilty about upgrading. Upgrading. That word hit me like a physical blow, not because it hurt my feelings, but because of how perfectly it summed up how shallow these people really were. Jessica wasn't looking for love or connection or partnership. She was shopping for the best deal. You're right, I said. She doesn't owe me anything. And after today, I won't owe her anything either. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. With a few taps, I initiated a transfer to Jessica's account for $2,500. Her phone buzzed immediately with the notification. Jessica's eyes widened as she looked at her screen. You gave me extra? Call it interest, I said. And compensation for emotional damages. We're even now. Tyler looked impressed, despite himself. Damn, man. I didn't think you had that kind of money just sitting around. There's a lot you don't know about me, I replied. Both of you. Jessica was staring at her phone screen like she'd never seen that many zeros before. Ryan, where did this money come from? You work at a coffee shop. I work hard, I said simply. Always have. My parents taught me the value of earning what you have, Tyler scoffed. Working hard at a coffee shop doesn't make you rich, buddy. Trust me, I know about real money. I looked at Tyler's BMW, noting the dealer plates that suggested it was either brand new or a rental. I glanced at his expensive jacket, his designer watch, his perfectly styled hair. Everything about him screamed trying too hard. You know about money, do you? Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us now. Back to the story, I asked. My family owns Peterson's Auto Repair on Pine Street, Tyler said proudly. We've been in business for 20 years. I'm going to inherit the whole operation after graduation. I nodded thoughtfully. Peterson's Auto Repair. I knew that place. My accountant had mentioned they were behind on their commercial rent for the building I owned on Pine Street. Apparently, they owed about $15,000 in back payments and were facing eviction proceedings. That's impressive, I said sincerely. Family businesses take a lot of dedication. Tyler preened under what he took as admiration. Exactly. That's what I keep telling Jessica. She deserves someone with a real future, someone who understands business and success. Jessica was looking back and forth between us, still clutching her phone with the money transfer visible. She seemed confused by my calm demeanor and generous payment. This clearly wasn't going how she'd expected. Ryan, she started, then stopped. I mean, thank you for being so understanding about everything. Don't mention it, I said. Really, don't. The crowd of students was starting to disperse. Their entertainment for the morning concluded. But I could see phones still recording, social media posts being written. By dinner time, this whole scene would be campus legend. As Tyler started leading Jessica toward his BMW, she turned back one more time. Ryan? For what it's worth, you really are a good guy. You'll find someone who appreciates what you have to offer. I watched them climb into the BMW, Tyler revving the engine unnecessarily before pulling away. As they drove off, I noticed the license plate, a dealer temp tag that would expire in 2 weeks. Either Tyler had just bought the car, or he was borrowing it from somewhere. Standing alone in the commons with my coffee sample tray, I pulled out my phone and made a call. Peterson's Auto Repair, this is Mike Peterson speaking. Mr. Peterson, this is Ryan Matthews. I represent the Pine Street Property Group. I'm calling about your lease situation. There was a long pause. Look, kid, I know we're behind on rent. Business has been tough, but we're working on it. Can you give us another month? Actually, sir, I'm calling with a solution. Are you available to meet this afternoon? I think we can work something out that benefits everyone. Another pause. You're not here to serve eviction papers? No, sir. I'm here to discuss your son, Tyler. Tyler? What does my boy have to do with the rent? I smiled, watching the BMW disappear around the corner with my ex-girlfriend inside. Everything, Mr. Peterson. Everything. The meeting with Mike Peterson went exactly as I'd expected. The man was desperate, proud, and completely unaware that his son was running around campus pretending to be wealthy while the family business teetered on the edge of bankruptcy. When I walked into Peterson's auto repair that afternoon, the smell of motor oil and desperation hung thick in the air. Mike Peterson was a man in his 50s with grease-stained hands and worry lines etched deep around his eyes. His shop was clean but outdated, with equipment that had seen better decades, and a waiting area that screamed struggling small business. When he saw me walk in wearing my usual jeans and campus coffee corner polo, his shoulders sagged. "You're the landlord's representative?" he asked, disbelief evident in his voice. "You look like you're barely old enough to drink." "I get that a lot," I replied, extending my hand. "Ryan Matthews. I know this situation with the rent is stressful, Mr. Peterson. I want to help." Mike wiped his hands on a rag before shaking mine. "Help? Son, unless you're here to tell me I don't owe 15 grand in back rent, I don't see how you can help." I looked around the shop, noting the BMW M4 parked in the premium service bay. The same car I'd seen Tyler driving that morning. "Nice BMW," I commented. "Customer's car?" Mike's expression darkened slightly. "That belongs to Marcus Wellington, one of our best clients. Left it here for a full detail and some minor bodywork. Should be done by tomorrow." "And your son Tyler drives it sometimes?" The question caught Mike off guard. His defensive instincts kicked in immediately. "Tyler helps around the shop. Sometimes he needs to move cars around the lot. Why?" Nodded understandingly. "Just curious. I saw him driving it on campus this morning. Seems like a responsible kid, helping with the family business." Mike's chest puffed up with pride despite his financial worries. "Tyler's a good boy. Works hard, studies harder. He's going to turn this whole business around once he graduates. Got big plans, that one does." "I'm sure he does," I said. "Actually, Mr. Peterson, that's part of why I'm here. I have a proposition that might solve both our problems." Over the next hour, I laid out a carefully crafted plan. I would forgive the back rent and restructure the lease at below-market rates, but only if Mike agreed to certain conditions regarding his son's behavior. I framed it as a community responsibility initiative, explaining that I represented investors who cared about the moral character of their business partners. Mike was so relieved about the rent forgiveness that he barely questioned the unusual terms. By the time I left, he was practically in tears of gratitude, promising that Tyler would straighten up and fly right if there had been any inappropriate behavior. Walking back to campus, I felt a mixture of satisfaction and anticipation. The pieces were falling into place, but I knew Jessica and Tyler wouldn't make this easy. People like them never did. My phone buzzed with a text from David, my roommate. "Dude, you're all over Instagram. Madison Chen is posting some serious drama about you." Madison Chen, Jessica's best friend and enabler extraordinaire. I should have known she'd get involved. Madison was one of those people who thrived on other people's drama, especially when she could position herself as the wise advisor, helping her friend level up in life. I opened Instagram and immediately found Madison's story. She'd posted a video of herself looking directly into the camera with an expression of exaggerated concern. "Okay, so I just heard about what happened to my bestie Jessica today, and I am literally shaking," Madison said into her phone. "This coffee shop guy Ryan has been basically stalking her for months, and when she finally found the courage to leave him for someone who actually has a future, he tried to manipulate her with money." The video continued with Madison explaining how I'd clearly been hiding money and using it to control Jessica, and how Tyler was literally saving her from an emotionally abusive situation. The comments were already pouring in, most from people who didn't know any of us personally but loved weighing in on drama. I scrolled through Madison's profile, noting her carefully curated lifestyle posts. Designer coffee cups, expensive dinners, shopping hauls that would make a trust fund kid jealous. Madison had always presented herself as wealthy, but I knew, for a fact, that her parents had cut her off financially after she'd failed 3 consecutive semesters. She was funding her lifestyle with credit cards and student loans while working at a boutique downtown for $12 an hour. My phone rang. It was Chloe Martinez, one of the few genuinely decent people I'd met at Riverside University. Chloe was an engineering major on full scholarship who worked 2 part-time jobs and still managed to volunteer at the local homeless shelter every weekend. If anyone understood the value of hard work and authentic character, it was Chloe. "Ryan, I just saw Madison's Instagram story," Chloe said without preamble. "Please tell me you're not taking that garbage seriously." "Hey Chloe, no, I'm not taking it seriously. Are you?" "Of course not. I've watched Jessica and Madison operate for 2 years. They're both users who think the world owes them luxury lifestyles. The question is, what are you going to do about it?" I paused, considering how much to tell Chloe. She was trustworthy, but the fewer people who knew about my real situation, the better. I'm going to let them dig their own graves. "Good," Chloe said firmly. "Because Jessica treating you like dirt while chasing after Tyler Peterson is peak irony." "What do you mean?" "Ryan, I tutor kids from all over Millbrook. Tyler's little sister Emma is one of my students. That family is broke, like choosing between groceries and gas money broke. Tyler's been borrowing cars from his dad's shop and pretending to be rich for over a year." This was news to me. I'd known about the back rent and suspected Tyler was overextending himself, but I hadn't realized the financial situation was that dire. "How do you know all this?" I asked. "Emma Peterson is brilliant, but she's been stressed about money constantly. She told me her dad cries himself to sleep some nights because he can't afford to keep the shop open much longer. Meanwhile, Tyler's out here acting like he's the Wolf of Wall Street." The picture was becoming clearer. Tyler wasn't just pretending to be wealthy. He was actively damaging his family's already precarious financial situation with his charade. The BMW, the expensive dinners, the designer clothes. It was all funded by money his family couldn't afford to spend. "That's awful," I said, and meant it. "His family shouldn't have to suffer because he wants to impress girls." "Exactly. And Jessica's so blinded by what she thinks is money that she can't see she's dating a fraud. It would be funny if it wasn't so pathetic." After hanging up with Chloe, I decided to do some research. I spent the evening digging into Tyler's social media presence, and what I found was both impressive and horrifying. The guy had created an entire fictional lifestyle online. Photos at expensive restaurants, designer shopping sprees, weekend trips to Seattle and Portland, all carefully staged to suggest unlimited wealth. But when I looked closer, the details didn't add up. The expensive restaurants were often photographed from angles that hid the fact he was only ordering appetizers. The designer shopping bags were frequently empty or contained items that were clearly borrowed and returned. The weekend trips were day visits with photos taken to suggest overnight stays. Tyler Peterson was running an elaborate catfish operation, but instead of pretending to be someone else online, he was pretending to be a richer version of himself in real life. And Jessica had fallen for it completely. The next morning, I was back to my regular routine, handing out coffee samples in the Commons. Several students approached me with expressions ranging from pity to curiosity. Word had clearly spread about yesterday's public breakup, and everyone wanted to see how the rejected coffee guy was handling his humiliation. "Ryan!" Madison's voice cut through the morning air like a rusty knife. She was walking toward me with Jessica and 2 other girls I recognized as part of their social circle. Madison was carrying a designer purse that cost more than most students' monthly rent, and Jessica was wearing a new outfit that definitely hadn't come from Target. "We need to talk," Madison announced, loud enough for the growing crowd of students to hear. She'd clearly planned this as a public confrontation. "Good morning, Madison," I replied calmly. "Beautiful day, isn't it?" My casual response seemed to throw her off script momentarily. She'd probably expected defensiveness or anger. "Don't play games with me, Ryan. I know what you're trying to do." "Enlighten me." Madison gestured dramatically with her phone. "You're trying to manipulate Jessica with money because you can't handle that she found someone better. It's pathetic and, frankly, kind of creepy." Jessica stepped forward, looking uncomfortable but determined. Ryan, I saw the Instagram posts about yesterday. People are saying you were harassing me and Tyler. I looked at Jessica carefully. She was wearing makeup to cover what looked like exhaustion, and her smile seemed forced. Are people saying that? Interesting. What do you think happened yesterday? I think you were trying to make a scene to embarrass me, Jessica said, though her voice lacked conviction. The money thing was weird, Ryan. Where did you even get $2,500? I worked for it, I said simply. Same as I work for everything else. Madison scoffed. Working at a coffee shop doesn't pay that kind of money, Ryan. Stop lying. You're right, I agreed. Working at a coffee shop pays about $12 an hour. I work about 20 hours a week there during the school year, which comes to about $1,000 a month before taxes. Definitely not enough to casually hand out $2,500 payments. The crowd was listening intently now. Several students had their phones out, clearly recording our conversation for their own social media posts. So where did the money come from? Madison demanded triumphantly, as if she'd caught me in some elaborate fraud. I have other income sources, I said. Investments, family support, that sort of thing. What kind of investments? Jessica asked, and for the first time since yesterday, she sounded genuinely curious rather than hostile. Real estate mostly. Some business holdings. Nothing too exciting. Madison rolled her eyes dramatically. Oh, please. You expect us to believe that some coffee shop worker is secretly a real estate mogul? What are you, 21 years old? 22, actually. And I never said I was a mogul. I said I had some investments. Prove it, Madison challenged. If you're so financially successful, prove it. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app, then handed it to Jessica. Scroll through the accounts if you want. Just don't transfer anything to yourself. Jessica's eyes widened as she looked at the screen. The color drained from her face as she scrolled through account after account, each showing balances that clearly shocked her. She handed the phone back to me, without saying anything. What did you see? Madison demanded, grabbing for the phone. Nothing, Jessica said quickly. It's nothing. Let's just go. But Madison wasn't about to let this drop. No way. If he's got money, why does he dress like that? Why does he live in that crappy apartment? Why does he work at a coffee shop? These were fair questions, and I'd been prepared for them since I started this experiment 3 years ago. Some people work because they have to. Some people work because they want to. I like working at the coffee shop. I like my apartment. I like my clothes. Money doesn't have to change who you are. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, Madison said flatly. Money is supposed to change who you are. That's the whole point of having money. Maybe that's where we disagree, I replied. Jessica was staring at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Confusion, maybe, or regret. It was hard to tell. This is ridiculous, Madison announced. Jessica, let's go find Tyler. At least, he knows how to act like a successful man. As if summoned by her words, Tyler's borrowed BMW pulled up to the curb. He climbed out wearing yet another expensive outfit, this one featuring a watch that probably cost more than his family's monthly income. He swaggered over to our group with the confidence of someone who believed his own lies. Everything okay? Here, baby, Tyler asked Jessica, sliding his arm around her waist possessively. This guy bothering you again? We were just leaving, Jessica said quietly. But Madison had other plans. Tyler, Ryan here claims he has money. Like, serious money. He just showed Jessica his bank accounts. Tyler's expression shifted slightly, a flicker of something that might have been worry. Really? How much money are we talking about? Enough, Jessica said, still looking at me strangely. Enough for what? Tyler pressed. Madison jumped, in before Jessica could answer. Enough to make Jessica think twice about her choices, apparently. But we all know that if Ryan actually had money, he wouldn't be working at a coffee shop and driving a piece of crap Honda. Tyler visibly relaxed. Exactly. I mean, come on. Look at how I live. Look at how he lives. The difference is obvious. How do you live, Tyler? I asked casually. The question seemed to surprise him. What do you mean? I mean, tell me about your lifestyle. You mentioned yesterday that you can afford to take Jessica places she's never been. Where exactly? Tyler puffed up his chest. Wherever she wants to go. Sky's the limit. I took her to Nouveau Bistro just yesterday. You know how much dinner there costs? I do, actually. I've eaten there several times. Great wine selection. This seemed to annoy Tyler. Right, well, most people can't afford to eat there regularly. It's not exactly a coffee shop budget kind of place. True, I agreed. What did you two order? Jessica looked uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation, but Tyler jumped right in. We shared the tasting menu. 7 courses, wine pairings, the whole experience. Cost about $400. I nodded appreciatively. That's a nice meal. The tasting menu there is excellent. Did you try the duck confit course? That's always been my favorite. Tyler's confident expression faltered slightly. Yeah, the duck was. It was good. Funny thing about Nouveau Bistro, I continued, conversationally. They don't actually serve duck confit on their tasting menu. They have duck breast with cherry gastrique, but no confit. Easy mistake to make if you haven't actually eaten there. The silence that followed was deafening. Jessica was staring at Tyler with a growing expression of confusion and suspicion. Madison looked like she was trying to solve a complex math problem in her head. Tyler's face had gone through several color changes. I misspoke, Tyler said finally. It was duck breast, obviously. Obviously, I agreed. What about the wine pairings? Did you enjoy the burgundy they served with the beef course? Yeah, it was fine, Tyler muttered. That's weird, because Nouveau Bistro exclusively serves Oregon wines with their tasting menu. They're really proud of their local wine program. No burgundy on the menu. Tyler's jaw tightened. Look, I don't remember every detail of every meal, okay? I eat at nice places all the time. I'm sure you do, I said gently. Where's your favorite place to eat in Portland? Le Pigeon, Tyler said immediately, probably thinking he was being clever by naming a well-known expensive restaurant. Great choice. What's your usual order there? The chicken. It's amazing. I smiled. Le Pigeon is famous for their pigeon, actually. It's right there in the name. They do have chicken dishes, but they're not what the restaurant is known for. Jessica was looking at Tyler like she was seeing him for the first time. Tyler, have you actually been to any of these places? Of course I have, Tyler said defensively. Just because I don't memorize every menu doesn't mean I haven't been there. Madison jumped in to support her friend's new relationship. Who cares about restaurant trivia? The point is that Tyler can afford to take Jessica nice places, and you can't. Actually, I said, I'm curious about something else. Tyler, that BMW you're driving is beautiful. What year is it? Tyler seemed relieved to change the subject. 2023 M4. Just got it a few weeks ago. Nice. Mind if I take a look? I'm thinking about getting one myself. Before Tyler could object, I was walking toward the car. The group followed reluctantly. When we reached the BMW, I walked around it slowly, examining the details. Beautiful car, I said genuinely. Must have cost around $70,000? Something like that, Tyler said, his confidence returning slightly. I peered through the driver's side window. Interesting. The registration in the windshield says Marcus Wellington. Friend of yours? Tyler's face went white. That's a mistake. The dealer hasn't updated the paperwork yet. I pulled out my phone and made a quick call. Peterson's Auto. Repair, this is Ryan Matthews. I was wondering if Marcus Wellington's BMW was ready for pickup yet. Oh, it is? And he's coming to get it this afternoon? Perfect. Thank you. I hung up and smiled at Tyler. Your dad says Marcus Wellington is picking up his car this afternoon. Funny coincidence that you have the same car with his registration. The silence stretched for what felt like hours. Jessica was staring at Tyler with an expression of dawning horror. Madison looked like someone had just explained quantum physics to her in Swahili. Tyler appeared to be considering various exit strategies. Finally, Jessica spoke. Tyler, whose car is this? It's complicated, Tyler mumbled. Uncomplicate it, Jessica demanded, her voice sharp. Tyler looked around desperately, probably hoping for some kind of rescue that wasn't coming. Okay, fine. It's a customer's car. My dad lets me borrow cars from the shop sometimes when they're in for service. It's not a big deal. You told me you owned this car, Jessica said, her voice rising. You told me you bought it. I never said I bought it, Tyler protested weakly. You absolutely did. You said you just got it a few weeks ago. Madison was looking back and forth between Tyler and Jessica like she was watching a tennis match. Wait, so Tyler doesn't actually own a BMW? Tyler doesn't actually own anything, I said calmly. The car belongs to a customer. The expensive clothes are probably financed on credit cards, and the fancy dinners are either imaginary or paid for with money his family can't afford to spend. Tyler's desperation finally boiled over into anger. Shut up! You don't know anything about me. Or my family! I know your family is 3 months behind on rent for the auto shop. I know your dad is considering bankruptcy. I know your little sister Emma is stressed about money because she's afraid your family might lose their home. The crowd of students had grown considerably during our conversation, and Tyler was clearly aware that his entire carefully constructed image was crumbling in real time. How do you know about Emma? I know a lot of things, Tyler. For instance, I know that Marcus Wellington is going to be very interested to learn that his BMW has been driven all over campus by the mechanic's son who was supposed to be detailing it. Tyler took a step toward me, his fists clenched. Are you threatening me? I'm stating facts. You've been using customer cars to maintain a fictional lifestyle, lying to my ex-girlfriend about your financial situation, and potentially damaging your family's business reputation. Those are just facts. Jessica had been quiet during this exchange, but now she exploded. Are you kidding me right now? Tyler, you've been lying to me about everything? I didn't lie about everything, Tyler said desperately. I exaggerated some things. I wanted to impress you. You wanted to impress me, so you pretended to be rich? You left him for me because you thought I had money, Tyler shouted, pointing at me. It's not like you cared about my personality. The accusation hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Jessica's face cycled through multiple emotions before settling on humiliated rage. That's not true. Isn't it? Tyler demanded. You told me yourself that you were tired of dating someone who couldn't provide for you. You said you wanted a man with ambition and success. Well, guess what? I wanted to be that man for you, so I acted like I was. Madison finally found her voice. This is insane. Tyler, are you seriously saying you've been faking wealth this entire time? I wasn't faking anything, Tyler insisted. I have ambition. I'm going to be successful. I accelerated the timeline a little bit. By lying, Jessica said flatly. By believing in my future. I watched this meltdown with a mixture of satisfaction and genuine pity. Tyler wasn't evil, just desperately insecure and willing to destroy his family's livelihood to maintain a facade. Jessica wasn't evil either, just shallow and materialistic enough to fall for obvious lies. Jessica, I said quietly, can I ask you something? She turned to me with tears of anger and embarrassment in her eyes. What? Yesterday you called me a burden. You said Tyler was your safe place. Now that you know the truth about both of us, how do you feel? Jessica stared at me for a long moment. Around us, dozens of students were recording everything on their phones, turning our personal drama into public entertainment. Finally, she spoke. I feel like an idiot. The admission hung in the air like smoke from a fire nobody wanted to acknowledge. Jessica stood there with tears threatening to spill. Tyler looked like he wanted to disappear into the pavement, and Madison appeared to be recalculating everything she thought she knew about the world. The crowd of students had grown to at least 50 people, all holding phones and whispering among themselves about the drama unfolding in real time. An idiot, Jessica repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. I threw away 8 months with someone who actually cared about me for someone who's been lying to my face since day one. Tyler reached for her arm desperately. Jessica, please. I can explain everything. Yes, I exaggerated some things, but my feelings for you are real. Everything I said about taking care of you, about being your safe place, that's all true. Jessica jerked away from his touch. How can anything you said be true when your entire life is a lie? The car isn't yours. The money isn't yours. The restaurants we went to apparently don't even exist the way you describe them. The restaurants exist, Tyler protested weakly. I just got some details mixed up. I decided it was time to add some clarity to the situation. Tyler, when exactly did you take Jessica to Nouveau Bistro? Yesterday, Tyler said automatically, then seemed to realize he was walking into another trap. Interesting. I called them this morning to make a reservation for next week. According to their hostess, they've been closed for renovations since last Friday. Won't reopen until Thursday. The silence that followed was deafening. Jessica's face went through a spectrum of emotions before settling on cold fury. You didn't take me to Nouveau Bistro yesterday, did you? Tyler's shoulders sagged in defeat. We went to Applebee's, but I wanted to impress you, so I said it was somewhere fancier. I was going to take you to Nouveau Bistro eventually, once business picked up at the shop. Applebee's, Jessica repeated flatly. You took me to Applebee's and told me it was a $400 meal at one of the most expensive restaurants in the city. Madison finally found her voice again. Wait, back up. If Tyler's been lying about having money, and Ryan actually does have money, then... She trailed off as the implications hit her. Then Jessica left the rich guy for the poor guy while thinking she was leaving the poor guy for the rich guy. Chloe's voice came from behind me. I turned to see her approaching with what looked like genuine sympathy for everyone involved. It's like a really depressing romantic comedy. Jessica spun around to face me, her expression desperate. Ryan, I am so sorry, I had no idea. If I had known about your financial situation, I never would have. She stopped herself, probably realizing how that sentence was going to end. The crowd was listening intently, and several people actually gasped at the implication. You never would have what? I asked gently. Left me? Jessica's face flushed red. That's not what I meant. Isn't it, though? Chloe interjected. Jessica, you literally told Ryan yesterday that Tyler could provide for you in ways Ryan couldn't. You called Ryan a burden and said Tyler was successful and ambitious. Now you're apologizing because you found out you had the financial situations backwards. Madison stepped protectively in front of Jessica. She made a mistake, okay? People make mistakes. At least, she's apologizing. She's apologizing for being wrong about who had money, Chloe said bluntly, not for being a gold digger in the first place. I'm not a gold digger, Jessica protested, but her voice lacked conviction. Really? Chloe pulled out her phone and started reading. Because I have screenshots of your Instagram posts from the past 6 weeks. Here's one. Finally found a man who knows how to treat a woman right. Dinner at the best restaurants, shopping sprees, weekend getaways. Ladies, never settle for less than you deserve. Posted 3 weeks ago with a picture of you in Tyler's borrowed BMW. Jessica's face went pale. Those posts were just... I was excited about the relationship. Here's another one, Chloe continued. Some girls are content with coffee dates and Netflix nights. I prefer champagne and 5-star hotels. Know your worth, queens. Posted 2 weeks ago. Tyler was looking at Jessica with growing horror. You posted about our relationship online? Everyone posts about their relationships, Jessica said, defensively. You posted about a fictional relationship, Tyler corrected. We never stayed at 5-star hotels. We never had champagne. Half the stuff you posted about never actually happened. Madison rallied to her friend's defense. So what if she embellished a little? Everyone does that on social media. A little? Chloe was incredulous. Jessica posted pictures of designer shopping bags that Tyler later admitted were empty. She checked into expensive hotels on Facebook that she never actually stayed at. She posted restaurant reviews for places she's never eaten. Her entire social media presence for the past 6 weeks has been as fictional as Tyler's bank account. The crowd was eating this up. I could see phones recording from every angle, and I knew this was going to be all over social media within hours. The irony wasn't lost on me that Jessica and Tyler's fake online personas were being destroyed in a very public, very real way. This is getting out of hand, I said, trying to bring some sanity to the situation. Maybe we should all take a step back and handle this privately. No, Jessica said firmly, tears now flowing freely. I want to say this publicly since I humiliated you publicly yesterday. Ryan, I was wrong. About everything. I judged you based on appearances and assumptions, and I treated you terribly because I thought I found someone better. I'm sorry. Tyler was looking increasingly panicked as the reality of his situation sank in. Jessica, we can work this out. I know I messed up, but I can change. I can be the man you deserve. How? Jessica demanded. By borrowing more cars? By lying about more restaurants? Tyler, your entire personality for the past 6 weeks has been based on things you don't actually have. That's not true, Tyler protested. I'm still the same person you fell for. I just wanted to impress you. The person I fell for was successful and confident and financially stable, Jessica shot back. If none of that was real, then who exactly did I fall for? Tyler didn't have an answer for that, and the silence stretched uncomfortably. Finally, Madison tried to salvage the situation. Look, maybe everyone just needs to calm down and think rationally about this. Tyler made some mistakes, but his heart was in the right place. And Jessica, you shouldn't beat yourself up for wanting financial security. That's not shallow, that's practical. Chloe snorted. Right. Because lying about your entire lifestyle and stealing customer cars is totally romantic. He didn't steal anything, Madison said hotly. He borrowed a car from his family's business. Without permission from the customer, I pointed out. Using customer vehicles for personal use without explicit consent is actually a serious violation of business licensing. The state licensing board takes that kind of thing very seriously. Tyler's face went ashen. You wouldn't report us to the licensing board. I don't need to, I said calmly. Marcus Wellington will probably do that himself when he finds out his BMW has been driven all over campus while he thought it was being detailed. You're going to tell him? Tyler's voice cracked slightly. I don't have to tell him anything. This conversation is being recorded by dozens of people. It'll be online within an hour. Marcus Wellington is a prominent local businessman. Someone will tag him in a video eventually. The reality of social media consequences was clearly hitting Tyler for the first time. His carefully maintained facade wasn't just crumbling privately. It was being documented and distributed to anyone with an internet connection. Oh God, Tyler whispered, pulling out his phone. I need to call my dad. That's probably a good idea, I agreed. He should hear about this from you before he hears about it from Marcus Wellington. Tyler stepped away from the group and made his call. Even from a distance, we could hear his father's voice getting progressively louder and angrier as Tyler explained the situation. The conversation ended with Tyler saying, "Yes, sir, I'll bring it back right now," and hanging up with shaking hands. I have to return the car immediately, Tyler announced when he rejoined our group. My dad he's not happy. I bet he's not, Chloe said dryly. Nothing says responsible business owner like your son joyriding in customer vehicles. Jessica was watching Tyler with a mixture of pity and disgust. Tyler, I need to ask you something, and I want a completely honest answer. How much of our relationship was real? Tyler looked like he was about to cry. All of it. My feelings for you are completely real, Jessica. Everything else might have been exaggerated, but what I feel for you is genuine. But you built our entire relationship on lies, Jessica pointed out. Every date, every conversation about the future, every promise you made about taking care of me was based on money and success you don't actually have. I will have those things eventually, Tyler insisted. I'm going to graduate. I'm going to expand the business. I'm going to make something of myself. I just wanted you to see the potential instead of the current reality. Madison nodded approvingly. See? Tyler has ambition. He has vision. That's worth something. Is it though? Jessica asked, and for the first time since I'd known her, she sounded genuinely thoughtful rather than materialistic. Because Ryan has actual success right now, and I called him a burden because I couldn't see past his humble job and modest lifestyle. She turned to face me directly. Ryan, can I ask you something personal? Sure. Why do you work at a coffee shop if you don't need the money? Why drive an old Honda and live in a regular apartment? I don't understand why someone would choose to live below their means. It was a fair question, and one I'd been expecting since this whole situation started. My parents taught me that money reveals character, it doesn't create it. They wanted me to learn who I really was and what I really valued before I had access to unlimited resources. So this whole thing has been like a test? Jessica asked. Not a test exactly. More like an education. I've learned a lot about people over the past 3 years. About who treats the coffee shop worker well and who treats him poorly. About who offers help when they think you're struggling and who kicks you when you're down. Madison rolled her eyes. That's pretty manipulative, don't you think? Leading people to believe you're poor when you're actually rich? I never told anyone I was poor, I corrected. I just never told anyone I was rich. There's a difference. It's the same thing, Madison insisted. Is it? Because Tyler actively lied about his financial situation. He made up stories about expensive dinners and claimed to own things he'd borrowed. I just didn't volunteer information about my bank account balance. Chloe was nodding approvingly. There's a huge difference between not talking about your money and actively lying about having money you don't have. Tyler, who had been listening to this exchange with growing agitation, finally exploded. This is ridiculous. So what if I exaggerated some things? Jessica would never have given me a chance if she knew I was just a mechanic's son. And that tells you something important about Jessica, Chloe pointed out. She chose you based on what she thought you could buy her, not who you actually are. That's not fair, Jessica protested. I'm not that shallow. Aren't you? Chloe challenged. Jessica, yesterday you told Ryan he was going nowhere because he works at a coffee shop. You said Tyler understood business and success in a way Ryan didn't. You called Ryan a burden and said Tyler was your safe place, all based on what you thought their bank accounts looked like. Jessica opened her mouth to argue, then closed it again. The truth was written all over her face. I was wrong, she admitted finally. I was completely wrong about everything. Tyler was looking increasingly desperate as he watched his relationship disintegrate in real time. Jessica, please. We can start over. I'll be completely honest from now on. No more exaggerations, no more borrowed cars, just the real me. But who is the real you? Jessica asked. Tyler, I don't even know what you actually like to do for fun because every activity we've done together has been based on this fake wealthy persona you created. I like working on cars, Tyler said lamely, and watching movies, and hanging out with you. Watching movies where? Because you told me you had a home theater system that turned out to be a laptop in your dorm room. Tyler winced. Okay, bad example. Madison was getting increasingly frustrated with the direction of the conversation. You know what? Fine. Tyler messed up. But at least he was trying to be something better. At least he has dreams and ambitions. Some people are perfectly content to waste their lives handing out coffee samples and living like college students. Forever. She was looking directly at me when she said this, clearly still not understanding the irony of her statement. You're right, I said agreeably. Some people are content with simple lives. Others have bigger ambitions. The question is whether you build your ambitions on honest work and authentic relationships, or whether you build them on lies and borrowed cars. Tyler made mistakes, but his heart was in the right place, Madison insisted. Was it, though? Chloe interjected. Because it sounds like Tyler's heart was in getting Jessica to sleep with him by pretending to be rich. That's not romantic. That's fraud. Tyler turned red. That's not what this was about. No? Then why did you lie about everything except your feelings? Why not just be honest from the beginning and let Jessica decide if she wanted to date the real you? Tyler didn't have an answer for that either. Jessica was looking back and forth between Tyler and me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Finally, she spoke. Ryan, I know I have no right to ask this after everything I've done, but is there any chance we could talk privately? Just the two of us? Madison immediately objected. Jessica, don't let him manipulate you with guilt. Just because he's rich doesn't mean he's right for you. Madison, stop, Jessica said firmly. I need to figure this out for myself. Tyler looked panicked. Jessica, you're not seriously considering getting back together with him, are you? I don't know what I'm considering, Jessica replied honestly. I just know that I made a huge mistake, and I need to understand what that means. The crowd of students was still watching and recording everything. This whole situation had become a spectacle. and I was getting tired of being the main attraction. "Jessica, I'm willing to talk," I said, "but not here, and not now. This has become enough of a circus already." Tyler stepped forward aggressively. "So you're just going to steal her back? Use your money to win her over?" "I'm not going to steal anyone," I replied calmly. "Jessica is an adult who can make her own decisions. If she wants to talk, we'll talk. If she doesn't, we won't." "This is insane," Tyler muttered, then louder. "You know what? Keep her. If she's the kind of person who only cares about money, then maybe we deserve each other." The comment was clearly meant to hurt Jessica, and it worked. She flinched like she'd been slapped. "That's enough," I said, my voice taking on an edge for the first time. "Tyler, you've lied to everyone here, used your family's business inappropriately, and potentially damaged your father's reputation. You don't get to take the moral high ground now. And you don't get to lecture me about morality while you've been lying about who you are for 3 years." "I haven't been lying about who I am," I said firmly. "I've been exactly who I am. I work at a coffee shop because I like working there. I drive an old Honda because it gets me where I need to go. I live in a regular apartment because I don't need anything fancier. Having money doesn't change any of that." "Then why didn't you tell Jessica about the money?" The question caught me off guard because it was actually a good one. I thought about it for a moment before answering. "Because I wanted her to love me for who I am, not what I have. If I'd told her about the money from the beginning, I would never have known if she was with me for me or for my bank account." "And now you know," Chloe said quietly. "Now I know," I agreed. Jessica was crying again, but these tears seemed different, less angry, more defeated. "I really screwed this up, didn't I?" she said to no one in particular. Before anyone could answer, Tyler's phone rang loudly. He looked at the screen and his face went white. "It's Marcus Wellington," he said in a voice barely above a whisper. The entire group fell silent. Even the crowd of students seemed to sense the gravity of the moment. Tyler answered the phone with a shaking hand. "Hello, Mr. Wellington." We could all hear the angry voice on the other end, though we couldn't make out the specific words. Tyler's face cycled through various shades of pale as he listened. "Yes, sir, I understand," Tyler said finally. "I'll have it back to the shop within the hour. Yes, sir, I'll explain everything to my father." He hung up and looked at all of us, with the expression of someone who had just watched his entire future crumble. "He knows," Tyler said simply. "Someone tagged him in a video on Instagram. He's coming to the shop in 2 hours, and he wants to speak with my father about appropriate business practices." Madison looked confused. "What does that mean?" "It means," Chloe said grimly, "that Tyler's family business is about to lose their biggest customer and possibly their business license because Tyler wanted to impress a girl." The weight of the consequences was finally hitting everyone. This wasn't just college drama anymore. This was real life, with real consequences for real people. Tyler looked at Jessica one last time. "I hope he was worth destroying my family's livelihood for." Then he walked away toward the BMW, leaving the rest of us standing in stunned silence. Tyler's departure left an uncomfortable silence hanging over the commons. The crowd of students was still there, phones still recording, but the energy had shifted from entertainment to something more serious. The reality that someone's family business might be destroyed because of a college romance had sobered everyone, including Jessica and Madison. "I should go after him," Jessica said quietly, though she made no move to leave. "This is my fault, too." "No," Chloe said firmly. "This is Tyler's fault. He made the choice to lie, to use customer cars, to build a relationship on deception. You made bad choices too, but Tyler's actions are going to hurt his family, and that's on him." Madison was scrolling through her phone with growing alarm. "Oh my God, this is everywhere. Someone already made a TikTok compilation of the whole thing. It has 50,000 views." Jessica paled. "What does it say?" "The caption is, 'College guy's fake rich lifestyle exposed in epic campus breakdown,' and there are already hundreds of comments." Madison's voice was getting higher as she read. "Most people are making fun of Tyler, but some are calling you a gold digger, Jessica." "Because that's what she is," Chloe said bluntly. "Chloe, please," I said. "That's not helping anyone right now." "Why are you defending her?" Chloe demanded. Ryan, this girl publicly humiliated you yesterday, called you a burden, said you were going nowhere in life, and now that she knows you have money, she wants to talk privately. Can't you see what's happening here? I could see exactly what was happening, but I was curious to hear what Jessica had to say. Not because I was considering reconciliation, but because I wanted to understand how someone could be so completely wrong about everything and still think they deserved a second chance. Jessica, I said, you wanted to talk privately. What exactly did you want to discuss? Jessica looked around at the crowd, then at Madison and Chloe. Can we go somewhere without an audience? Anything you want to say to me, you can say in front of everyone here, I replied, especially since our breakup was public. Jessica's face flushed, but she nodded. Fair enough. She took a deep breath. Ryan, I want to apologize for everything I said yesterday. I was wrong about you, wrong about Tyler, wrong about what matters in a relationship. I let Madison convince me that financial security was more important than genuine connection, and I hurt someone who actually cared about me. Madison looked stricken. Wait, what? You're blaming me for your decisions? I'm not blaming you entirely, Jessica said. But you did spend weeks telling me that I deserved better than someone who worked at a coffee shop. You said I should find a man with real ambition and success. I was looking out for your future, Madison protested. I didn't tell you to cheat on your boyfriend. You told me Tyler was exactly the kind of man I should be with. You encouraged me to pursue him. Because I thought he was rich. Madison's voice was rising. If I had known he was lying about everything, I never would have told you to. Leave Ryan. Chloe was watching this exchange with undisguised disgust. So, you're both admitting that your decisions were entirely based on money. Do you hear yourselves? Jessica turned to me with tears in her eyes. Ryan, I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I'm asking for another chance. I realize now that what we had was real and valuable, and I threw it away for superficial reasons. What exactly are you asking for, Jessica? I want us to try again. I want to start over and build something authentic this time. The request hung in the air while I considered how to respond. Around us, dozens of students were recording, every word waiting for my answer. This moment would probably end up on social media too, dissected and analyzed by people who didn't know any of us. Jessica, can I ask you something? Of course. If you found out tomorrow that I'd been lying about the money, that I was actually just a coffee shop worker with no other income, would you still want to get back together? Jessica hesitated, and that hesitation told me everything I needed to know. I think so. I mean, yes. What we had was good, Ryan. I just got confused about what I wanted. You hesitated. I pointed out gently. Because I'm trying to be honest, Jessica said defensively. I'm trying to examine my real feelings instead of just saying what I think you want to hear. And what are your real feelings? Jessica was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was barely audible. I don't know. I thought I knew, but everything is so confusing right now. Madison stepped forward. Jessica, don't let him psychoanalyze you. You made a mistake. You apologized. Now he's trying to make you feel guilty for wanting financial security. Is that what I'm doing? I asked Madison directly. Yes, Madison said firmly. You're acting like wanting a partner who can provide for you is some kind of character flaw. It's not. It's practical. You're right, I agreed. Wanting financial security isn't a character flaw. But Jessica didn't leave me because I couldn't provide for her. She left me because she thought someone else could provide more. What's the difference? The difference is that she never actually assessed my ability to provide for her. She made assumptions based on my job and my lifestyle choices. If she had asked direct questions about my financial situation, I would have given her honest answers. Jessica looked confused. You would have told me about the money if I'd asked? Of course. I never made it a secret. I just didn't advertise it. Then why didn't you tell me when I was clearly worried about our financial future? It was a fair question, and one I'd been wrestling with myself. Because I wanted to know if you trusted me enough to believe that I could take care of you, even if you didn't understand how. I wanted to know if you valued our relationship enough to talk to me about your concerns instead of just finding someone else. That's not fair, Madison interjected. You can't expect someone to just have blind faith in your mysterious ability to provide for them. I didn't expect blind faith, I said. I expected communication. If Jessica was worried about money, she could have talked to me about it. Instead, she started an affair with someone she thought was richer. Chloe was nodding approvingly. Exactly. Jessica didn't leave because of money problems. She left because she thought she found a better deal. Stop calling me a gold digger, Jessica snapped at Chloe. I'm not some cartoon villain who only cares about money. Then explain your Instagram posts, Chloe challenged. Explain your comments yesterday about Tyler being successful and ambitious while Ryan was going nowhere. Explain how you could date someone for 8 months and never once ask about their long-term financial goals if money wasn't your primary concern. Jessica didn't have a good answer for that. While they argued, I noticed a familiar figure approaching our group. Mike Peterson was walking across the commons with the look of a man who had received very bad news recently. He spotted me immediately and headed straight over. "Ryan Matthews," he called out. "Yes, sir. I need to speak with you, now." The crowd fell silent as Mike Peterson joined our circle. He looked exhausted and angry, and he was holding what appeared to be a legal document. "Mr. Peterson," I said, "I'm sorry about the situation with your son and the customer vehicle." "Sorry?" Mike's voice was bitter. "Son, sorry doesn't cover it. Marcus Wellington just called me. He's pulling all his business from my shop and he's filing a complaint with the state licensing board. 20 years I've been building that business, and my boy destroyed it in 6 weeks chasing after some girl." Jessica stepped forward. "Mr. Peterson, I'm Jessica. I'm the girl Tyler was. I'm so sorry. I had no idea he was using customer cars." Mike looked at Jessica with undisguised hostility. "You're the reason my son threw away his family's livelihood? You're the reason my daughter might not be able to afford college next year?" "I didn't know," Jessica said weakly. "He told me the car was his." "And you believed him? A college kid working part-time at his dad's shop owns a $70,000 BMW? Jessica had no answer for that either. Mike turned back to me. "Mr. Matthews, I need to ask you something. When we met yesterday, you said you represented the Pine Street Property Group. You said you could help with our rent situation." "That's correct. Well, I just got off the phone with my landlord. Turns out the Pine Street Property Group doesn't just represent the building owner. They are the building owner. And according to the paperwork I just received, you're not just some young representative. You're the owner." The silence that followed was absolute. Even the crowd of students seemed to sense that something significant had just been revealed. "Mr. Peterson," I said carefully, "I can explain. Can you? Because right now it looks like you've been playing games with my family's livelihood. Did you know my son was involved with this girl when you offered to restructure our lease?" The crowd was pressing closer now, straining to hear every word. Phones were recording from every angle. This conversation was going to be dissected on social media for weeks. "Yes, sir. I knew about Tyler and Jessica." Mike's face darkened. "So this was all some kind of revenge scheme? You were going to destroy my business because my son stole your girlfriend?" "No, sir. That's not what happened." "Then explain it to me, because I'm having trouble understanding how the owner of my building just happened to show up offering help the day after my son publicly humiliated you." I looked around at the faces watching me. Jessica looked confused and hurt. Madison looked like someone had just explained quantum physics to her in a foreign language. Chloe looked intrigued but not surprised. The students in the crowd were hanging on every word. "Mr. Peterson, I own 12 coffee shops across Oregon, including the campus coffee corner here at Riverside University. I also own several commercial properties, including the building that houses Peterson's Auto Repair. When I offered to restructure your lease, it was because I genuinely wanted to help a struggling family business, not because I wanted revenge on Tyler." 12 coffee shops, Jessica whispered. "You own 12 coffee shops. The Pine Street building, the Commons Shopping Center, and about half of downtown Millbrook," I continued. "My parents built a successful business empire, and they've been teaching me to manage it responsibly." Mike Peterson was staring at me like I'd just revealed I was an alien. "You're telling me that the kid who works behind the counter at the coffee shop owns the entire chain?" "I don't just work behind the counter, Mr. Peterson. I learn every aspect of the business from the ground up. My parents believe that you can't manage what you don't understand. Madison found her voice first. This is insane. You're saying you've been pretending to be a regular college student while secretly running a business empire? I haven't been pretending anything. I am a regular college student. I'm also a business owner. Those things aren't mutually exclusive. Jessica was staring at me with an expression I couldn't read. Ryan, when you said you had investments and family support, you meant you inherited a fortune. I earned a fortune, Jessica. My parents didn't just hand me money. They taught me to work for everything I have. The difference is that my work happens to be profitable. Chloe was grinning. Now, this is perfect. Jessica left the secret millionaire for the fake millionaire, and Tyler destroyed his family's business, trying to impress a girl who was already dating someone who could actually afford to take care of her. It's not funny, Jessica said, tears starting to flow again. Ryan, why didn't you tell me? We were together for 8 months. We talked about the future. How could you not mention that you own half the town? Because I wanted you to love me for who I am, not what I own. And based on your reaction to Tyler's supposed wealth, I'd say that instinct was correct. Mike Peterson was looking back and forth between Jessica and me with growing understanding. So let me get this straight. My son used customer cars to impress your ex-girlfriend, who left you because she thought you were poor, not knowing that you're actually rich enough to own the building where we work. That's a fairly accurate summary, yes. And now Marcus Wellington is threatening to destroy my business because videos of my son's lies are all over the internet. I nodded grimly. Unfortunately, yes. Mike Peterson sat down heavily on a nearby bench. 20 years I've been building that business. Worked 60-hour weeks, missed family dinners, sacrificed everything to build something I could pass on to my children. And my boy destroyed it all for some girl who didn't even want him for who he really was. The pain in his voice was real and devastating. I felt genuinely sorry for him, and angry at Tyler for putting his family in this position. Mr. Peterson, I said, the lease restructuring offer still stands, and I might be able to help with the Marcus Wellington situation. Mike looked up at me with hope and suspicion warring in his expression. Why would you help us after what Tyler did? Because Tyler's mistakes shouldn't destroy your life's work, and because your daughter Emma deserves to go to college. You know Emma? I know Chloe tutors her. I know Emma is worried about money because she's afraid your family might lose everything. I know she's a good kid who doesn't deserve to suffer because her brother made bad choices. Mike Peterson started crying then, right there in front of 50 college students with their phones out. 20 years of stress and worry and pride and fear all came pouring out at once. Thank you, he whispered. Whatever your reasons, thank you. Jessica was watching this entire exchange with growing horror. The full weight of what had happened was finally hitting her. Her pursuit of Tyler hadn't just destroyed 2 relationships, it had nearly destroyed an entire family. Oh my God, she said quietly. What have I done? Jessica's question hung in the air like a confession. What have I done? The words carried the weight of 8 months of genuine relationship thrown away for 6 weeks of elaborate fiction. Around us, the crowd was finally beginning to disperse, though many students lingered to catch the conclusion of what had become legendary campus drama. You chose what you thought was a better option, I said simply. People make choices based on the information they have. You just had bad information. But that's not true, is it? Jessica's voice was barely audible. I had 8 months of good information about who you really are. I chose to ignore all of that because Tyler seemed like he could offer me more. Madison stepped protectively closer to Jessica. You can't blame yourself for wanting security and success. Every woman wants those things. Chloe snorted. Speak for yourself, Madison. Some of us want genuine partnerships built on mutual respect and shared values. Easy to say when you've never had to worry about money, Madison shot back. I worry about money every single day, Chloe replied firmly. I work 2 jobs to pay for school. The difference is that I'm looking for a partner who will work alongside me to build something together, not someone to rescue me from responsibility. Mike Peterson wiped his eyes and stood up from the bench. Mr. Matthews, I need to get back to the shop. Marcus Wellington will be there soon, and I need to figure out how to salvage what's left of my reputation. Mr. Peterson, before you go, let me make a phone call. I pulled out my phone and dialed Marcus Wellington's number. He answered on the second ring. Marcus, this is Ryan Matthews from Campus Coffee Corner. I understand you had some issues with Peterson's auto repair today. Ryan, good to hear from you. Yes, I'm furious about this whole situation. That mechanic's son has been joyriding in my BMW while I thought it was being serviced. I know, and that's completely unacceptable. Mike Peterson is a good man who's built an honest business over 20 years. His son made a terrible mistake, but I don't think the father should lose everything because of it. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that Mike Peterson refund your service fees, provide free maintenance for your BMW for the next year, and personally guarantee that nothing like this will ever happen again. In exchange, you might consider withdrawing the licensing board complaint. There was a pause. That's generous, but trust has been broken here, Ryan. I understand. But Mike Peterson is also the landlord for several of my coffee shop locations. If his business fails, it creates complications for me, too. I'm willing to personally guarantee the quality of any future work they do for you. Another pause. You'd put your reputation on the line for him? I would. All right, Ryan. Out of respect for our business relationship, I'll give him one more chance. But this is it. Any other issues, and I'm done with them permanently. Understood. Thank you, Marcus. I hung up and turned to Mike Peterson, who was staring at me with disbelief. He's willing to give you another chance. Free service for a year, and you're back in business. Mike Peterson's relief was immediate and overwhelming. I don't know how to thank you. Take care of your family. Make sure Emma gets to college. And maybe have a serious conversation with Tyler about integrity and consequences. Tyler's going to work every day after school until he's paid back every penny this cost us, Mike said firmly. And he's going to write personal apology letters to every customer whose trust he violated. That sounds fair. Mike shook my hand one more time before walking away, pulling out his phone to call his wife with the good news. Watching him go, I felt satisfied that at least one good thing had come out of this mess. That was incredible, Jessica said quietly. You just saved his entire business. I just made a phone call. You put your own reputation on the line for someone whose son nearly destroyed your relationship and humiliated you publicly. That's not just making a phone call. Madison was watching our exchange with growing irritation. Jessica, don't let him manipulate you with grand gestures. Rich guys always think they can solve everything with money and connections. Is that what you think I'm doing? I asked Madison directly. Yes, you're trying to look like the hero so Jessica will come crawling back to you. Madison, Jessica said firmly, stop. Just stop talking. I'm trying to protect you. From what? From seeing that I made a terrible mistake? From realizing that I had something real and threw it away for something fake? You're not protecting me, Madison. You're the reason I'm in this mess. Madison looked genuinely hurt. That's not fair. I was looking out for your future. You were projecting your own insecurities onto my relationship, Jessica replied. You've been bitter about your own family cutting you off, so you convinced me that financial security was the only thing that mattered. But look how that worked out. The truth was finally coming out, and Madison didn't like it. So, this is all my fault now? It's my fault for listening to you instead of trusting my own judgment, Jessica said. But yes, Madison, you bear some responsibility for this disaster. Madison gathered her designer purse and lifted her chin defiantly. Fine. Blame me for trying to help you see that you deserve better than a coffee shop worker. But don't come crying to me when this whole thing falls apart again. She stalked away, leaving Jessica, Chloe, and me standing in the now mostly empty commons. She's not wrong about one thing, Jessica said after Madison was gone. I don't deserve another chance. Probably not, I agreed. But that's not really the point anymore. What do you mean? I mean that getting back together isn't about what you deserve. It's about whether we can build something healthy and honest together. And based on everything that's happened, I don't think we can. Jessica's face crumpled. Because I'm too shallow? Because I care about money? Because you don't trust me, I said gently. Jessica, we were together for 8 months, and you never once asked me about my long-term plans or financial goals. You made assumptions and then acted on those assumptions without ever talking to me. That's not about being shallow. That's about communication and trust. But if you had just told me about the business empire, none of this would have happened. Maybe, or maybe you would have stayed with me for the wrong reasons, and we would have ended up in the same place eventually. Chloe was listening to our conversation with fascination. Jessica, can I ask you something? Sure. If Ryan worked at the coffee shop for the rest of his life and never made more than $30,000 a year, but he was happy and fulfilled and loved you completely, would that be enough? Jessica was quiet for a long time. When she finally answered, her voice was honest but devastating. I don't know. I want to say yes, but I honestly don't know. Then Ryan's right, Chloe said. You two can't build something healthy together if you're not sure you can love him without the money. I felt a mixture of sadness and relief. Sadness because 8 months of genuine affection was ending permanently, but relief because the truth was finally out in the open. Jessica, I hope you find what you're looking for, I said sincerely. I hope you find someone who can give you both financial security and genuine love. And I hope you learn to value the second part as much as the first. Jessica nodded, tears flowing freely now. I hope so too. And Ryan, I really am sorry. For all of it. I know you are. She walked away then, leaving Chloe and me alone in the commons. Well, Chloe said after a moment, that was quite a show. Not exactly how I planned to spend my Tuesday morning. Are you okay? I thought about it. Yeah, I think I am. It hurts, but it's also clarifying. I know exactly who Jessica is now, and I know exactly what I want in a partner. Which is? Someone who would choose me even if I really was just a coffee shop worker. Someone who values character over bank account balances. Chloe smiled. Those people exist, you know. I'm starting to believe that. 6 months later, I ran into Jessica at the campus bookstore. She was alone, looking tired but somehow more genuine than I remembered. We exchanged polite greetings and caught up briefly. She was single, focusing on her studies, and working part-time at a nonprofit downtown. She seemed more grounded, more thoughtful. Tyler had transferred to a community college and was working full-time at his father's shop, which had slowly rebuilt its reputation through honest work and excellent service. Madison had dropped out entirely after her credit cards were finally maxed out and her fake lifestyle collapsed completely. As for me, I was still working at Campus Coffee Corner, still driving my Honda Civic and still learning everything I could about business and life. But I was also dating Chloe, who had known about my financial situation for months before she agreed to go out with me. She said she wanted to make sure she could love me for who I was, not what I owned. Some people called that relationship move calculating. I called it wise. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.